So welcome to the Mary Hyatt Show. Like I said, I am Mary Hyatt, your host for today, and I'm super excited to be sharing the reasons why I'm quitting social media and how it ruined my life. But for those of you who maybe are tuning in for the first time, maybe somebody shared this with you, welcome. I am so glad that you are here. And I am a life coach, a business consultant. I am a body love advocate, and I love helping women to wake up, to find their voice, and to become fully alive. So on the show, which will now be on YouTube, I talk about authenticity, vulnerability, how to create real relationships, real communication, how to love the skin and the body that you're in, how to make peace with food, and really live a life that you truly love, a life that lights you up, that is full of joy, and how to actually create that. So I'm going to get into it, but before we do that, let's officially start the show. All right, I am thrilled to be on with you guys, and hey to everybody who's joining. So like I said, I am quitting social media. I'm getting off Facebook, I'm getting off Instagram, and already I love it because Carrie's like, I'm kind of surprised you don't consider YouTube as social media. Like, give me a break, right? Carrie, thanks for saying that. I love that. I'm sure several people are already thinking that. And I'm going to explain today how Instagram and Facebook are very different than any other kind of online platform, and what it does to our brains, how it creates addiction, and really what's going on that's driving this insanely profitable social media platform. And when I think about our phones, obviously we have way more exposure to our smartphones. We're looking at it. We've got Yelp, we've got TripAdvisor, we have an app for everything. We have something that's telling us how many steps we've taken. We have something that is telling us the weather. You know, we really have at our fingertips a full-fledged interactive computer. Now, there's a lot of arguments that would say that that alone is creating a social crisis of sorts. But there's a couple things that make social media even more destructive than just our smartphones. And yes, believe me, I am a fan of putting the phone down. I'm a fan of when you are at a restaurant, turning your phone over so you're not distracted to look at what's going on. But there's something unique about social media itself, the interaction, the social piece of interacting with people that I'm going to get into on today's show. And obviously you have probably heard by now that I am getting off social media on Monday. And I have to be honest, I'm really excited, but I'm slightly terrified. I've been having a lot of waves of anxiety, a lot of waves of panic, a lot of waves of, oh my God, am I just doing the stupidest thing in my life right now? What's going on? And yet there is a real deep piece of knowing this is the right decision for me. And it's a huge decision. I mean, I have been on social media since its conception. I was on Facebook in college and was excited to get on Instagram, and I have been building my platform, building my brand ever since. So this really is a huge shift for me. And I know a lot of people think that I'm crazy. I know a lot of people aren't really getting why I am doing this, but I can tell you that I sent out an email in my newsletter this week to announce, hey, I'm getting off social media. I received, I think now over like 40 emails from you guys already saying, thank you. Thank you for leading the way. Thank you for showing us that this can be done. Thank you for being brave enough to take this step. And so many of you guys were expressing to me that you've been wanting to do the same, that there's been this sort of level of discomfort that you've been feeling, that you want to get off social media too, that it's increasing your depression, that it's increasing your insecurity. And so what I'm realizing is it's not only ruining my life, it's ruining your life too. Now, my goal is not to say, hey, delete your social media, but I do hope that I give you a couple ideas of how to sort of take back control of your life, where you can experience more joy, more real connection, more off-screen time, and do that in a way that's right for you for this season of your life. And I'm going to share my experience. I'm going to share some tools that I think will be really helpful for that. But before we kind of jump into all of that, I want to share with you why it is that I sort of made this decision, how I got to say I'm out. At a time when my followers have never been higher, I've had a ton of engagement, I've had amazing feedback from y'all. Why did I do it? And I'm gonna be honest, I'm gonna be vulnerable with you guys because I love to connect in that way. So I hope you can hear my heart in this. But I've been feeling this for a while now, this sort of growing dissatisfaction in my life, this sort of overall feeling of overwhelm, this overall feeling of pressure, and quite honestly, a growing insecurity. When I am talking about body love, when I am talking about loving your body, it's like my insecurity was also growing within that, and my loneliness was growing within that, and my relationships have been under a lot of stress as this sort of rise of social media has continued. And I know that I'm not the only one. I know that now more than ever, and just tell me in the comments, and I'm seeing your comments and I love this. Christy, you guys, Susan, you guys are saying it's toxic. We are starving for connection. Real actual connection. We have lost the ability to really communicate. We get annoyed or anxious when we think about having to talk to people on the phone. You know, we just text each other now. We've lost the ability to be in the present moment. We don't really know how to make new friends, how to network, how to meet new people. We've lost a lot of this ability to engage in real life, like actually engage in real life. And everything that is going on, we're sort of experiencing it through the lens of our screens. And everything's about the numbers, the likes, the hearts, the comments, the notifications, the feedback, the picture, the Insta story, capturing the moment, scrolling through your screen, seeing who viewed your story, adjusting your behavior so that more people can see what you're doing, investigating Facebook ads, investigating Instagram ads, how we can boost this post and do this and do that. And I mean, can we just get like a real hands up of just like, we hate it. Like, we're exhausted. I can't tell you how many people feel like it's a necessary evil. Like, we just have to do this. Something is missing from our lives. And I believe that it is our real life that is missing. And you guys are like, oh my gosh, yes, yes, yes. You miss friendships. Christy said you're crying right now, right? Like, I'm sorry, but I'm going to be the one that gives voice to this because we are aching inside. We are longing. We are desperate. And we are so lonely. And the pressure is so great that I hope that I shed some light on this. It's like, for me, I suddenly woke up from this trance. And when I think back on it, it's been a little bit gradual. For example, those of you who followed my journey know that I got divorced a few years ago. And my ex-husband is in the process of selling the home that we lived in for 10 years together. And so I asked him if I could go over to the house before he sold it because I sort of wanted to say goodbye to this house. And I'm going to get emotional as I say this. So I went into the house and it was like a time capsule. Everything was the same. You know, the curtains that I sewed were up in the house. The things that we bought together were in this house. The plates that we had on our honeymoon were there. The silverware that I bought. It was like a time capsule. Everything was the same. And I was just bawling and I was just grieving and I was just in this moment and I just started crying and I said, what happened to my life? Like, What happened to the parties? What happened to the music? What happened to people coming over to my home, to me sitting on this couch and journaling and journaling and journaling and reading all these books about self-discovery and planting flowers and living life? What has happened to life? And as I was grieving this loss of this life, what I realized is, even though my home now is much more beautiful, I'm in a beautiful, healthy, loving relationship now with somebody who I just absolutely can't get enough of and adore. My business is thriving. Everything is better. There is still this aching, there is still this longing inside of myself for real life. For real life, the sweetness, the simplicity before all of the social media, before the need to curate this perfect image of our lives, this comparison, this judgment, this constant scrolling, the constant checking, the constant taking ourselves out of the present moment to be with somebody else, somewhere else. I was like, I am missing my life. Like, my life is actually happening in real time, and I'm missing it. I am missing it. And it struck this deep, deep chord inside of myself that was like, I simply can't do it anymore. And I started watching some videos about social media and what it does to our brains and what it does to our lives. And it was like peeling the curtain back and exposing the insane manipulation that's happening. And I was like, all of this, all of the likes, all of the comments, all of the love that you guys give me will never be enough. It can never substitute for real life. And believe me, y'all are amazing. And I am so grateful for the way that you have stayed connected with me and how you've just supported me and loved me. And I am so grateful for that. And my life, my real life, is more important than anything. That is what is at stake. And so that is what got me to the place of saying, you know what? I've got to come back to the moment of conversations, of hours of conversations, of laughing, of dancing, of making cocktails with my friends, for, all of this, for reading on the porch, for journaling. I've got to come back to that, because this is just the show. And yes, it has impact. And yes, there's a lot of good that we can do. But this is still just a show. It's the highlight reel. It's the smiling pictures of all of us happy and laughing, and the gorgeous flowers that accompany a quote that I wrote. And so as I started to research, what I'm realizing is there's a lot that's going on that we're not aware of. And I want to shed some light on that. And as you guys are talking about this, and you're talking about, okay, how do we build our businesses without social media? I'm going to talk about that a little bit, because that's a big concern, right? So what has happened? Let's break it down. What is actually going on with social media? What is it doing? It is creating, number one, massive addiction. Massive addiction. And why is this? Why is it creating massive addiction? So first and foremost, it's working on affirmation, behavioral patterns, random hits. We're being studied because of our smartphones on behavior all the time. We're being studied on what we're doing, our facial expressions. When we looked at this, after we looked at this, did we laugh? Did we cry? When did we change to messages? When did we click on this ad? Everything that we're doing is being tracked. And so these algorithms have been created that keep us coming back for more. Keep us coming back for more. It can detect when you haven't been on in a while, and then it will start sending you more notifications to bring you back on. Robert Spolsky did the foundational research on this at Stanford University, and he calls it, this addiction piece with social media, he calls it the magic of maybe. And so he said, when you look at your phone and maybe there's a text there or maybe there's not, when it shows up, that high you get, that's dopamine. It's the magic of maybe. Maybe it'll be there, maybe it won't when it shows up, but you get a 400% spike in dopamine. That is roughly the same amount of dopamine you're getting from cocaine, slightly less than the amount of dopamine you're getting from an extremely addictive drug like cocaine. So I want to slow that down for a second. So let's be clear. I know that none of us want to think of ourselves as addicts, okay? You know, we have free will, we have our own willpower. We aren't sipping on a bottle, you know, we're not destroying our lives, you know, like we're not an addict. But are we? What happens when you get up in the morning? You grab your phone, you scroll to see what's happening from the night before. You check your phone. When we go to the bathroom in the morning, we scroll. We stop at a stoplight, we're scrolling. We're eating our lunch, even if it's with somebody else, we're checking our phone, we're scrolling. We walk around town, we hold that 15-second button to capture our lives. We sit down with a friend for a drink and we boomerang our cheers first. It's not a mild addiction that we have. It's a full-blown addiction. And we are getting that dopamine, that 400% dopamine spike all day long. Think about how often you're checking your social media. Dopamine hit, dopamine, 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 dopamine. And what's crazy, and the reason this is so addictive, is that it preys on one of our deepest core wounds and desires: to feel loved, to have significance, and to be important. And so what drives us coming back for more are those likes. Did people comment? Did they view it? Did they see it? Are we getting any kind of affirmation back? Even if it's negative affirmation, even if it's an argument, even if it's a back and forth, that is coming at a place that it's spiking our dopamine and creating addictive behavior. And the goal is for us to be addicted. The goal is for us to be addicted. And I'm going to talk about this in a second. But when we get that dopamine hit as a reward for checking our social media, for the behavior, we are being open to being manipulated. These computers know the exact algorithms to give us that consistent dopamine hit throughout the day, just the right way that we keep on coming back for more. They can kind of space out our posts, for example, from being seen. So instead of getting all of our likes, like let's say I post a photo today, I'm not going to get all my likes today. I may get some a few days from now. And the algorithms know that, so that we get a notification 3 days for the post that I posted today, so that we go, oh, well, who liked that post? And we keep coming back. Instead of us going at one time, consuming it all at once, it spaces it out so we keep coming back. Increasing the times that you have to check your notifications. This lends itself obviously to more addiction, that constant exposure, getting the next hit, getting the next bump. And as Sean Parker, the former president of Facebook, said, he said, we need to sort of give you a little dopamine hit every once in a while because someone liked or commented on a photo or a post or whatever. It's a social validation feedback loop. Exactly the kind of thing that a hacker like myself would have come up with because you were exploiting a vulnerability in human psychology. And he goes on to say, he said, the creators, the inventors, it's me, it's Mark Zuckerberg, it's Kevin Systrom on Instagram, it's all of these people, understood this consciously, and we did it anyways. It literally changes your relationship with society, with each other. God only knows what it's doing to our children's brains. That's the former president of Facebook. People know that if you are coming on and off of social media to get affirmation, reinforcement, that you are going to spend more time on the site. And that is more time for manipulation, more time for advertisers to get to you, more time for them to track your patterns. And the damage is that all of this is used to create addiction. And we need people addicted and to know exactly how they become more and more and more addicted so that we know exactly how to get the behavior that we want out of them. For example, buying stuff, voting for somebody, getting distracted by insane news stories during an election, supporting a cause. All of this, Facebook ads, this color makes people behave this way. At this time, it makes them behave this way. When we put it right after they watch this video, it makes them do this. It makes them click on this. If we have it over here instead of over here, they're going to click more often than not. If they like this page, if they're on for this amount of time, we can do this, we can do that. They, generate exactly what you need to stay in the loop. This is literally changing the way society thinks, the way that we live, and the way that we behave as a whole. And y'all, I don't know if you've ever known an addict personally, but it makes people crazy. And what happens is the addict gradually loses touch with the real world, and we become in this trance. And that is what's happening. Like, let's all admit, we are an addict. Chamath, I'm trying to say this guy's name. I'm going to butcher it. Chamath Palihapitiya, former vice president of the user growth of Facebook, admitted that this is a huge issue. He said, the short-term dopamine-driven feedback loops that we created are destroying how society works. No civil discourse, no cooperation, misinformation, mistruth, and it's not an American problem. This is not about Russian ads. This is a global problem. I feel tremendous guilt, and I think we all knew in the back of our minds, even though we fanned that as a whole, there probably aren't really any, bad unintended consequences. I think in the back, deep recesses, we kind of knew something bad could happen. So we are in a really bad state of affairs, in my opinion. It is eroding the core foundation of how people behave by and between each other, and I don't have a good solution. My solution is I just don't use these tools anymore. I haven't for years. That's the former vice president of user growth on Facebook, admitting that this is a real issue now, and they knew. And so you can see that Parker is talking about how Facebook is intentionally getting people addicted by, kind of exploiting these dopamine hits. The former VP of user growth in Facebook, he's talking about the negative effects that it's having on our relationships, on society. So what is linking these two things together? Jaron Lanier, who is amazing. I hope that you will pause to follow him. I'll share some links later about his book. But he says the core process that allows social media to make money and what also does the damage to society is behavior modification. So hang on with me, because I know that I'm kind of getting into some of the deep parts of this, and I'm going to get into some of the real practical stuff. Because like I said, this is core, like we're all feeling it, but we have to sort of understand the deeper things that are at play so that then we can make a decision of how it is that we want to move forward. So social media is also manipulating our behavior. Bad actors now manipulate large swaths of people to do anything you want, he told the audience. And this is from the same VP of user growth on Facebook. He said, and we compound the problem. We curate our lives around this perceived sense of perfection because we get rewarded in these short-term signals, hearts, likes, thumbs up, and we conflate that with value and we conflate it with truth. And instead, what it is fake, brittle popularity that's short-term and leaves you even more, admit it, vacant and empty before you did it. Think about it. Compounded by 2 billion people. Whoa. Just think about that for a second. Behavioral modification is where they use methodical techniques to change behavior in animals and people. So think about Pavlov's dog, right? You ring a bell, you give the dog a treat, and that's that reward. It's the behavior modification. You do something, it causes a change in behavior to where eventually you can just ring the bell and the dog's going to salivate. You don't even have to give that treat to the dog anymore. And this is what is happening on social media, except the treats are likes, our comments, our messages, our followers, whether it's positive or negative. And so this addiction, this behavioral modification, opens us up. It makes us so vulnerable to manipulation, to people coming in, to manipulating our minds, to manipulating how we think, our public opinion, our ways that we see the world, how we perceive it, how we view ourselves. It creates anxiety and insecurity. It can shift the whole sway of a society on how they vote. I mean, it's really intense when you get into it. It can help you buy a pair of shoes. It will help you buy a program. It will help you see this Facebook Live show. Everything is based on your addiction, your patterns, what's going on, so that you do something that these people, these bad actors want you to do, to behave in a certain way. And they know exactly how to do that more than you are even aware of. They know more about your life and your patterns than you have any clue. They have drawn the A to the B to the C to the D that equals Z. They know it all. And they exploit that to change our behavior. It's sort of like mob mentality at its finest. Now that's sort of the big picture stuff, but like on a practical, personal level, y'all, social media is starving us of the present moment. So think about somebody with a classic addiction. Let's take alcoholism, for example. Alcohol is used to help buffer, to help cope, to help numb us from real life, from the intensity of emotion, from trauma, whatever it might be. But with that addiction, you lose friends. You start rationalizing your behavior. You start losing touch with reality. It's making you crazy. You start retreating from real life. You have a hard time having real conversations. You get depressed. You get lonely. It literally gets in the way of your ability to be present. Our brains, when you're an addict, our brains are constantly preoccupied with the next drink, the next fix, the next bump. We become literally obsessed with alcohol. It interrupts our life. We're always trying to get that next drink. Or imagine gambling. Let's say you go to a casino for 2 hours and the dopamine hits that you're getting in those 2 hours, and then you leave. But with social media, it's like being at a casino all day long. You're getting those dopamine hits all day long. And it's robbing us of that present moment. We no longer know how to be in the present moment without documenting, without taking a picture, like 20 times to get the right angle. And then we post it. Without curating our lives, without pausing to capture it for the gram. We've lost the ability to be present with the people that are right in front of us. We have lost the ability to just be. Everything is focused on how we're going to translate it later to social media. And I know this from my own life. I was getting breakfast this morning at a place where I get breakfast several times a week after I work out. And I'm not using social media much right now. I'm sort of like weaning myself off of it to be off completely on Monday. And so I had the temptation while I was there, I want to document what I'm eating. I want to document this really cute store. I want to document my workout, all of this. And it was like for the first time I was in this store that I'd been in a million times before. And I was seeing it in a totally different way. I was like, I have been in here. I've ordered the same thing for a year now, several times a week, seeing the same people. And I was never actually present because I was looking through the lens of social media. It was altering my reality. It was altering my experience. And none of it was about being in the moment, in the present. So it is robbing us of that present moment. And lastly, and I know y'all feel this, it is causing alarming rates of depression, anxiety, suicide, loneliness, comparison, judgment, fear. Social media depression is where everyone's looking at their feed and they're comparing their lives to the highlight of other people's lives. And there's actually less life satisfaction, more sadness, and depression. I want to hear from you guys. Do you feel that? When you're looking through your social media and you're scrolling, does that create more loneliness, more depression, more isolation? Even when you're connected to thousands of people. Whew. It's sobering. So what can we do? What can we do to live more of our real life? What can we do to be more in the present moment? What can we do to break the addiction and stop the cycle of manipulation? So I have 5 actions I believe that you must take to get your life back. Now, we're going to talk about degrees of this, but in some shape or fashion, I hope that you will consider. The first action is to decide your level of addiction. Now, I might actually say to admit your level of addiction. How addicted are you? We cannot create change until we recognize how deep the problem is for ourselves. I know for me that so much of my life was geared around getting everything curated for social media. I woke up, I checked my phone. I went to the bathroom, I checked my phone. At the stoplight, I checked my phone. When I was with Bentley, I checked my phone. When I was watching Netflix, I checked my phone. When I was waiting in line for anything, I checked my phone. When I was at my desk, I would take frequent breaks to check my phone. I mean, it was all day, every day. So the first action we have to take is to get really honest and admit our level of addiction. Now, denial is going to be part of this. Nobody wants to admit that we're an addict. Like, that doesn't feel good. We don't like that terminology. We're not an alcoholic. We're not a sex addict. We are not whatever. We're just living our lives, and this is what everybody does. So you have to get really clear, really honest with our level of addiction. So the first action you have to take is you got to get honest, and you got to decide and admit your level of addiction. Now, the second action that you've got to take is identify your limiting beliefs. And this is what a lot of you guys are talking about in the comments as I'm looking at these. We have limiting beliefs about social media. Here's the ones that I've been hearing. I can't be successful in my business if I don't have social media. I won't be able to keep up with so-and-so if I'm not on social media. Social media brings me my business. I don't look at it as much as, you might look at it, or he might look at it. I won't be able to keep up with people. So identify your limiting beliefs around social media. Why do you believe that it is crucial? And then challenge those set of beliefs. Challenge those beliefs. So like my mom, I was talking to my mom about it, and she said, well, Mary, she said, but I had this friend in Colorado who just had this baby, and I would have never known that she had this baby if I didn't have social media. Like, I got to see her baby for the first time, and obviously I'm not going to take a flight out there and see this baby, so it was how I got to see this baby. And I looked at my mom and I talked to my mom and I said, Mom, I said, when you saw that person had a baby, did you send them flowers? Did you send the mom a card, a congratulations card? Did you pick up your phone and ask her how the birth was? Did you text her and ask her how she's feeling or if there's anything that you could do? She was like, no. And I'm like, just knowing about people isn't actually real life. And this is, again, it's the trance, right? So we think that it makes us more connected, but we're actually not in real relationship with those people. They may not even have your phone number. You are not going to be talking to them for an hour on the phone. Like, your real friends, the people that you live life with, if they had a baby, they would text you a picture of their baby. You would be there for the birth. And so there's an illusion that I won't be able to connect. And it's like, then tell those people, and this is what I've been doing, like, text me. If you want to talk to me, text me. Send me pictures. Let me know what's going on in your life. And I'm going to have to actually ask you about your life now. Instead of saying, hey, I saw that you did so-and-so, I'm going to say, hey, what have you been up to? I'm so curious. What's been going on in your life? And it creates real conversation. It creates real connection. And so you have to really slow down and go, okay, what's real and what feels real? Because what feels real, like, we have all these friends, we're connected, we know what everybody's doing. But what's real is you don't pick up your phone and talk to people on the phone. You don't invite people out to dinner. You don't have people over to your home. When was the last time you invited somebody over to your house for dinner? And these are just sobering truths, right? So we have to challenge these limiting beliefs. Is there a way for you to build your business outside of Instagram and Facebook? I, as an entrepreneur, am willing to figure that out. And it's going to require that I go out and network with people, meet people, get out of my comfort zone. Get out. I'm doing this podcast. I'm doing this YouTube show, right? Those are different ways where I'm not sitting scrolling on my phone all day long. I'm excited about that. I'm excited about creating real connection, talking to people, word of mouth. Like, I have not gotten any business. Not one of my coaching clients has come through social media. I've maybe enrolled like 3 people in doTERRA through social media. Everybody else has been word of mouth, person to person. Recommendations. Hey, I'm working with this girl. She's amazing. You should take a look at her. My website is a great tool. So we have to begin to challenge these limiting beliefs that we have around social media. And then the third action that we have to take, and I love this one, and I encourage you all to do it, whether you do anything with this or not, is admit what you want. Admit the kind of life that you want. I had to do that. I was talking to Bentley through a lot of tears, a lot of like sobering moments of like, shit, this is not the life that I want. It was like, I just want the simplicity of life. I want to have people over. I want to entertain. I miss talking to people. I miss getting to have a morning that wasn't interrupted with social media, having to post at the right time, or, you know, reading a book in the bathroom, for heaven's sakes, instead of looking at my social media. I miss my brain. My brain is so tired and foggy and exhausted. I want more connection. I want more friends, real life friends. I want more music in my life. I want more joy in my life, less depression. And so we have to admit what it is that we actually want. And when we want life more than we want the illusion of life, we can release the addiction. When we realize what is at stake, what it's costing us, the sacrifice that is robbing us of our lives, the illusion of connection in replacement of actual connection. When you realize that, yes, like Farron, you're talking about, there's discomfort, right? Going out, meeting people. But when you realize that there's so much discomfort of a life that's not a real life, of a fake life, of an illusion, that's more sobering. That's harder. That should instill more fear than the discomfort, the temporary discomfort of, you know, getting to talk to people, which the good news is that's a skill that gets easier and easier. I am a absolute introvert. I had social anxiety like you wouldn't believe for so many years. It was like I couldn't even function. But the good news is we are able to change and adapt and grow and get new skills to network. We can do it. We are fully capable of doing that, of doing hard things that become easier over time. And so we have to admit and give voice to the kind of life that we miss and the kind of life that we want. Now, the fourth action that we have to take is to commit to a solution. Now, this can be a mild solution. This can be an extreme solution. Like for me, I'm like, I'm done. Like I have enough proof. I have enough experience of my own life that says I'm done. But you may say, you know what? I'm not ready to make that step. Or I really need to figure out how I would do this thing with my business. If it's not online, how would I actually do that? What would that look like? And we need to get creative. So there may be reasons you choose not to totally get off, which is fine. This is all for you. The goal is to give you more of what you want, your real life. But we have to commit to a solution. So at the very least, I encourage you to curate your feed. I did this a while ago where I got rid of all of the accounts that were triggering me, all of the accounts that made me feel inadequate, unworthy, ugly, fat, like my life was lame. I got rid of all those and I said replace them with accounts that were positive quotes, body positivity, people that were really changing the world for good in powerful ways. Started following some of my favorite authors or podcasters, and I curated my feed. I got in control of what I was viewing because I know that was shaping my emotions for the day. So at the very minimum, curate your feed and limit your time. Have apps that cut your social media off at certain times. Have apps, or you could even delete the apps off of your phone that reduce that. Have apps that you can schedule your posts at the beginning of the week and you don't have to think about it for the rest of the week. Get in control of the amount of time that you're spending on it. Turn off your notifications. That's a big one. Turn off your notifications so you're not getting those dings all the time. Set those boundaries. No phones at the dinner table. No phones when people come over to your house to hang out. Set some boundaries for social media. When we're together, when we're watching a movie, when you're with your kids, when you're at the dinner table, when you are out and about, set some boundaries. No phones, no social media for this. Really, really get in control, but find that level of commitment. Do you want to do a mild commitment? Curate your feed. Middle kind of commitment, get to the point where you're minimizing the amount of time that you're on social media. You have apps that help to control that exposure for yourself and set some boundaries. And then lastly, if you want to go extreme, get off Instagram, get off Facebook. Challenge yourself to really stop the addiction. And lastly, the biggest action that I can encourage you to take is to start living your life. Decide how you are going to start living more of your real life. Once you've identified what it is that you want more of, figure out what it is that you want to add or subtract from your life to make it better, to make it more fulfilling, where you feel like you have purpose, you have meaning, there's real connection, where you're able to be in the present moment. Start living your real life, because this is all you got. Your real life is not social media. Your real life is not social media. Your real life is not social media. Whether you do it for business or pleasure or both or whatever, it's not real life. This is not real life. So find a way or ways to start living your real life. Things that give back to you, that pour into you, that feed and nourish your soul. What are those things? Start living your real life. And now my hope for you with all of this, as you start deciding and admitting your level of addiction, you identify those limiting beliefs that you have around social media and you challenge those. You admit and give voice to what it is that you want. You commit to a solution, and then you start living your real life. My hope is that you can go back to living from a place of intuition, where your instinct leads, where you can trust what you feel like is right for you without having to first hold it up to what everybody else is doing and compare it to what your neighbor is doing, your colleagues are doing, people in your field are doing, without having to be on display. But where you truly live your own life without any kind of behavioral manipulation. Where you are connected to people. Where you are connected to your soul's desires, your soul's needs, your soul's wants, where you live out of a place of intuition that isn't influenced by the voices of these thousands and thousands of people that shouldn't have a vote on how you live your life. They don't get a vote. If you are not my friend in real life, who I have walked life with, who has held my hand when I went through my divorce and the hardships of my life and the trauma, if you weren't there in those moments with me, if I don't have your number saved in my phone, if I don't call you regularly because of all the trust that we have built over time, you don't get a vote in how I live my life. And I say that with love. And I encourage you to do the same. to see this addiction that you're fed, that you are just like in the matrix. You know, see the level of addiction, see the behavioral manipulation, how it's changing how you think about things and your opinion and your buying patterns and your anger and what it stirs up inside of you, the discomfort, the loneliness, the anxiety, the depression. See how it is connected and reclaim your life. On some level, reclaim your life. Whew. Y'all, it's big. It's a big move in a time where we believe that we can't exist without it. I am choosing to believe that we can. I am choosing to believe that I can have a richer, fuller, more happy, joyful, fulfilled life without it than I have while I have had it. I'm willing to take that risk to live my life, to claim my life for me, because it's all I got. I got this one chance to live my life, and I'm going to do it. And I do hope that you guys will still please stay connected to me. Subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you can see my future shows where we'll be getting into authenticity, vulnerability, learning how to find your voice, how to create a life that you actually love. And then subscribe to my weekly newsletter. All the links are above. Just click on those, sign up to my weekly newsletter, because I'm going to share with you my life. I'm going to share what's going on. And I'm going to be doing some amazing retreats that are coming up. So you do not want to miss out on those, like in-person live retreats with me that are going to be transformational immersion retreats where we actually get to wrestle with the hard stuff in front of other people. So definitely stay connected. Subscribe to my weekly newsletter. And I'm excited because I'm going to be offering a podcast as well, which I'm super, super stoked about. And it's going to just be the audio from my YouTube show straight onto a podcast. So you can listen to that as you're driving around, wherever you are. And you actually get some inspiration, some education, some knowledge, some encouragement, some love from me. Somebody who's on this journey with you, who is doing my best to live out of a place of intuition, out of love, and out of believing that we can do better. That we really can choose our lives instead of having all of this be run for us. So y'all, I just want to say thank you for following me on social media, for commenting, for engaging with me, for sending me messages. I'm so grateful for that. Truly, truly I am. This is in no way to say that I'm not grateful. I am so grateful to each and every one of you, to the conversations we have had, and I hope that you do stay connected with me. You can contact me through my email. You can email if you need me. Obviously, we can coach together. There are ways for us to stay connected. If you're my real friend, text me, send me your pictures. Let's stay connected. Let's go get a drink. But y'all, I'm excited to see you on YouTube. I'm excited to see you in person in my live events and my retreats. I'm excited to be on this podcast with y'all. But I adore you. Thank you for listening to this, for considering a new way of seeing social media. And let's do it. Let's do it, y'all. Let's reclaim our lives. Okay, love y'all so much, and I will see you next week on YouTube. Alrighty.